Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Drew Brown, and my wingman, my man, the number one guy I know, Dr. Paul Thompson. What's up, brother? Welcome to the Wingman Show. Float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. Rumble, you two badass jet pilots, rumble. Welcome to the Wingman Show. My name is Commander Drew Brown. My wingman, my friend, the guy who watches my six is Dr. Paul Thompson. How are you today, Paul?
Hey, pretty good, Dr. Drew. Good to talk to you. You're Dr. Drew, Commander Drew, Emperor Drew. But I'm doing pretty good. I'm up live and kicking. Did a good calisthenic warm-up, not a warm-up, a little calisthenic workout just to get ready for the show. So I'm pumped up a little more than usual, which is good.
Good. I'm proud of myself, too. I woke up and did not want to work out. And in about a minute, I turned over and said, let's go do this. And I did it, so I'm happy. We got a quote today, Paul, and the quote was shorter when you and I talked about it. I went and researched it, and it got longer. But the quote that you and I talked about was, he who laughs last longest. And that was by W.E. Newsom. But Dr. Paul, I did a little research. This is the whole quote. If laughter be an aid to health, then logic of the strongest impels us to the cheerful thought that he who laughs lasts longest. I love that, Paul.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to laughter, don't you think?
100. I swear to God, I think it's part of the cure for cancer.
Yeah. I mean, I think it actually it is in some extent. Because a lot of therapy clinics that offer different things, cancer healing, I'll hear mind-body connection in some of these commercials. It's not just a hippy dippy thing of the early 60s, but this is being embraced by a lot. I mean, laughter makes you, relaxes your stress, helps your breathing, actually probably helps you cardiovascular wise.
You know what else it does, Paul? It stops your cortisol drip. And so all that cortisol is not dripping in you. And instead, endorphins are dripping, and you live longer when you are happy. I know that. Dr. Paul, I went to an opera, believe it or not. I went to an opera that my cousin did. My cousin Adam Levowitz is a composer. Check this out, Paul. This is his talent. If you sing him a song, he can sit there on paper and write the notes. That's how good he is. That's how good he is. He has a master's in music. I mean, he's gone all the way. He's done so much, and he's my lovely cousin. But what he did was he did a play called Don Giovanni. It is Mozart, but he does it with a rock band. How cool is that? We went to see it. We had a great time. My cousin Adam is so good, but the opera was the bomb, and I can't believe it. I'm not a guy.
Were there a lot of people there? That's a rock.
Yes, we went opening night. The place was packed. I believe the place was called Seven Stages. Wonderful evening with my cousin Adam. I'm very proud of you, Adam. Way to go. Don Giovanni, Mozart with a rock band. All right, Dr. Paul, guess what? If you want to buy a little gold, where would you go? To the gold exchange? Dr. Paul, you can go to Costco and buy some gold.
I saw that. Yeah,
they always said gold was a safe haven asset. What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, I looked at it. Costco. You can they sell like 1 ounce gold bars. There's a restriction on them though. You can only buy, I think you can make one order per membership, and you can buy a maximum of 5 of them. I looked at that, and I guess it'll deliver to your house. Sent to your house. And it's got pretty good reviews on it. Give you so it's one troy ounce, which is heavier than a regular ounce.
I didn't know that, Dr. Paul.
Yeah, this is slightly a few grams more.
I didn't know that. That's
30
that's
cents.
good information for the Wingman Show.
Yeah. It's a troy ounce, and I got a few coins. I hadn't thought about getting any more, but hey.
All 3 grandchildren, I gave them on their first year birthday, I gave them a gold coin each, an American Eagle, 1 ounce. So I believe in gold and I believe in this country. Okay, the name of our show, Dr. Paul, is How to Transition to Women's Sports. Love the game. And the reason that the title is that is because Caitlin Clark just blew up women's sports. And here's a little side note, Paul. Believe this, she's going to only make $77,000 a year for her rookie year in the WNBA. Yet she's going to make about 4 million in endorsements. So what do you
Right.
think, Paul?
Yeah, that's I saw that too. I mean the salaries are like nothing. I think if you took all the WNBA salaries and put them together, you probably couldn't pay the taxes of actually, I bet you couldn't. I bet you couldn't even pay this. I bet you couldn't pay the state taxes of LeBron. Just the
It's
state. I bet you couldn't. I don't care what kind of deduction you have.
But
There's just such
these
a
women,
disparity.
Dr. Paul, these women, they go overseas, and they make
Right.
much more money in Europe. And one of our players, if you remember, Brittany Grimes went to Russia and she got in trouble over there
Right.
because of the Russians. But she went over there because she makes about 1 million a year playing for Russia.
Right. I understand that's kind of an average for the stars. They were trying to make some dollars. We have I guess a family friend, someone I don't know well, but my wife does, that did that, played in the WNBA for a while. Actually, she's up for possibly a head coaching position in the NBA. She'd be the
Wow,
first
that's
woman to
cool.
get that. We just got that news 2 or 3 days ago, just in the running. I think they can talk to her, so we'll
Oh,
see. And
that's pretty
it's not
cool.
Dawn Staley. I'll put that down.
All
Though
right,
she could
thank
probably
you.
do a good job too.
All right, but Paul, let me ask you this. Do you know why you and I love women's sports? It's because we have two daughters that play Division I basketball. And
Yes.
my quick story of my daughter, Taryn, how she got into basketball, she was a cheerleader in junior high, and we used to go to all the games. I didn't know who was playing, what was playing, but I watched my daughter cheer, and she was great. Well, when she got to high school, I guess she wasn't in the right clique, and she did not make the cheerleading team. And I won't ever forget the day she came home crying, saying, Daddy, I didn't make the cheerleading team. And you know what I told him? Well, then guess what? Let's go in the backyard, pick up a basketball, and from now on, those cheerleaders will start cheering for you. Long story short, after that, my daughter became all state in basketball, track, and volleyball. She got a full scholarship to the University of Texas. She was very heavily recruited. And I love women's sports because my daughter was playing them. Now, the one thing I'll say, Dr. Paul, and you can agree or disagree, I think women's basketball is pure basketball. They don't have the physical capabilities to fly and jump and dunk, but they hit their free throws. They make chest passes. They make bounce passes. Don't you think, Paul?
Yeah, I think their basics are better actually, because they can't just rely on just brute strength and you know powering your way through something, which men typically do. If we get into a bind, you just a little force is good, more force is better. But if you can't generate that force, and I've noticed that even with women in martial arts, sometimes their technique's going to be better, particularly like something in judo and moving heavy weights at a certain angle. You got to do it just right. If you kind of, I kind of goof it up, I can go, I can put a little more muscle here, a little more muscle there. But if you're like 60, 80 pounds under, you really can't do that. Sure.
Paul, tell them about Camille. Tell them about your history with your daughter.
Yeah, well, she was always extremely athletic. She ended up again. Your daughter Taryn was famous, state famous. Again, that's a good example of sometimes when life hands you lemons, make lemonade. know, she went, she couldn't do cheerleading, but she became a star in three other things she probably wasn't thinking about when she was cheerleading. So that's one reason we can't focus on, things where we fail or fall short. Hey, maybe you do, but something may be around the corner if you're able to wake up the next day. But anyway, getting back to Camille, she played Division I basketball for the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. All years there, when she graduated, she's actually the Division I women's MVP, which was she got this big trophy. It's downstairs, pretty impressive. But always played well. I would say the term athletically gifted
How did she
because
get into it, Dr. Paul?
she got into it because they were doing it at school. We did it, at home a little bit. but she was one of those people, a little bit unusual, and she was kind of good at everything, even things she wasn't interested in. She was good at it. That's unusual. There's few people like that.
Paul, is it true that Taryn's poster was hanging in our bedroom?
Yeah, it's still there. It's still there. I can send you. I don't have. I think we got. Well, I got a picture of Camille's on a poster too. It was for an Air Force Academy game coming up. It's a black and white vintage thing, but it's amazing how things go. Because I remember one time, just getting off track a little bit. Your son, the Doctor Drew, was playing a game as White Station High School versus something, and Kim and I came down there. My son was doing something. He was with some friends. We brought Camille, and Camille was sitting on her mother's lap. That's how the size of her.
Wow.
She might have been two. And little Drew was warming up. Little Drew comes over to talk to you and his mom, and he walks away. And Lori said, Drew, come say hi to Camille. Say hi to Camille. And he said, okay, hi, Camille. And he walks away. Camille was just bouncing around, not knowing anything. And who knew how things would go? I still remember that. I still remember that. Can you remember the power went out and they had to go to another gym or something? I still remember that.
What a
But
wonderful story.
but yeah, so you never know what's going to happen. Yeah, but she did really well in sports. She's not a very tall person, 5'4", but she led the team in block shots for a couple of years. I'm not sure how that happened.
That's because she's good and she's your daughter. That's why.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, check out our Jets. No, we don't have no Jets behind us today. Today's a special day. Today, Dr. Paul and I both grew up in New York, and my grandparents lived in Brooklyn, Brighton Beach, matter of fact. And behind me, I have the world famous Cyclone. It's a wooden roller coaster. And I am so proud to tell you this. I don't know anybody else who has this, but my Mama Rhoda Palestine Brown, had a lifetime pass on the Cyclone. And that is in Coney Island. How about, what do you have, that steeplechase picture?
That's a steeplechase, kind of a parachute drop thing. Very, very famous. I don't know if I've seen any of those anywhere else, but I'm looking at your roller coaster. When you said rumble, young man, rumble, I was talking about those things used to rumble a lot.
Ooh, yes.
It was just wood. It's just wood you're just hearing. It was nothing but rumble. Coney Island was a great place. I remember the rides are okay. I really like shooting the air rifles.
Yes.
I really like that. Something about that. And the hot dogs. You got to talk about Coney Island hot dogs.
Ooh, Nathan's.
That's right.
There is nothing like a Nathan's hot dog and French fries. And the one thing my mom used to say, and I now do it, I said I would never do it, Paul. But every time we went to Nathan, she would say, we used to get a hot dog for a nickel. And I'm like, okay, Mom, enough. And now I'm saying, hey, I used to get a slice and a Coke for 25 cents.
25 cents. Yeah. What is that? That's not even a deposit now. Yeah, it's funny. The hot dogs, I think that's the first time I experienced sauerkraut.
Well, remember in New York, they had hot dogs and they put those red onions on it with the mustard, the Sabaray hot dog.
Great. Those are great. Sauerkraut's supposed to be really good for you too. Didn't know that at the time.
I didn't know that either. Boy, I learned a lot from you, Dr. Paul. Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening to us, for watching us on YouTube, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Instagram, TikTok. Thank you so much for all of your letters. We really appreciate it. Thank you for your support. And anybody new, just know that we have a website, WingmenShow.com. WingmenShow.com. And on that website, number one, you can ask Dr. Paul and I a question. But also, we have a newsletter, and the newsletter this week is great. It's how to get kids into sports and physical fitness, because a lot of our children are now playing video games and doing things inside. We need to really start getting them outside and getting those bodies warmed up. Don't you think, Paul?
Absolutely. Yeah. Being sedentary, there's no advantage to being sedentary. If you're disabled or something, you're kind of stuck. But even in that situation, movement is key. Movement is key to getting your bodies moving and your mind moving too, and your cortisol and all the other things we talked about in terms of just being alive.
Well, Paul, I have a surprise for you.
Uh-oh.
Yep, our frequent flow line last week was about a young man who couldn't get his father to do technology. Guess what? He wrote back, and I picked his letter this week. 35-year-old man from Louisiana. He said his father was technically ignorant, even though he had a college education. So he wrote to us that he sat down with his dad and they listened to the show, and he did that example, what I told him about showing him LeBron's highlights, because he's a LeBron James fan. And when he showed him all those highlights on that screen, all of a sudden his dad got interested. Well, he's sitting down with him every day, showing him something, and he bought him an iPhone. Dr.
Okay.
Paul, can you believe that?
Yeah, well, that's
I'm
good.
just
Good,
so
good,
happy
good.
that he said that. And he also said he cannot thank us enough.
Well, that's good. That's good. He did something good for his dad, and something that would help his dad more and helps everybody. Like I'm on technical support all the time. A big thing is all all the computer stuff is actually knowing where to put your eyes. Some of these sites are really, really busy, and you can get lost and waste a lot of time and not make any progress because you're looking in the wrong place. That's a
Yep.
good reason to look at the wingmanshow.com. We have a real simple website. You can see stuff. It's all there. But teach them, look over here, click this, click that. Maybe two or three things. Just show him like where to put his eyes. It's hard because a lot of web designers put things in different places. What they'll do, they'll track and see where people look. There's some way you can measure that, and they'll put things here and there. And sometimes it can be a little bit annoying. But you did right. Give him something simple, and let him go from there. He'll take it. And if he gets the
Yeah.
iPhone figured out, he can explain it to us.
Oh, yeah. Well, also you have to have confidence. You have to have two things, confidence and patience. First of all, things don't happen all the time, just like they do all the time on a computer. But if you have confidence, and the confidence comes that these computers are made for regular people, they're not that much smarter than you. And I promise you, it's like instructions whenever you put something together. Those instructions are usually made for people with a third, fifth grade education. So know that you can do that. All right, Dr. Paul, you know what that brings us to? That brings us to a Wingman PSA from the 11 facts in life. Fact number 8, emit integrity and respect. Fact number 8, emit integrity and respect. Dr. Paul, I love that because when people emit integrity, you can feel it. I got to tell you this, Paul. I'm not kidding. You emit integrity. When I'm around you, I know that I'm around somebody who's honest and truthful. But it's just something in your soul, something in your spirit that does that, Paul.
Yeah, you've got to be honest. You have to stand for something. I think you need to stand for something so you can stand for yourself.
Very good. Well, that brings me to a great topic, and that's our friend Hank Aaron. I got not only a chance to meet Hank Aaron, but little Drew and I spoke for him when I was doing motivational speaking. I spoke for one of his organizations because he always worked with kids. He loved kids. But I bet you didn't know this. Hank Aaron broke the record with 715 homers, right, Paul?
Yep.
Did
Yep.
you know that he still holds the record for RBIs? He has 2,297 extra base hits, 1,477, and total bases, 6,856. He still holds the record for all of them. Now, I have to tell you this, Paul. Well, you already know how I feel. Hank Aaron is the real home run king
Mhm.
because the other people who had more home runs than him, and they don't need to be named, but they cheated. They used performance enhancing drugs. And the reason that I'm so adamant about this, Dr. Paul, is because Joe Louis, a long time ago, fought this guy named Max Schmeling. And this was back when Hitler was all the rage. Well, Joe Louis knocked out Max Schmeling. If Max Schmeling, and he changed history. He changed history. Two black men and a Jew beat Hitler. Jesse Owens showed him that we were faster. Joe Louis showed him we were stronger. and Albert Einstein showed him that we were smarter. But two black men and a Jew beat Hitler. But what I'm trying to say is that if Max Schmeling would have used performance enhancing drugs, he would have cheated and possibly changed history.
Yeah,
Paul,
possibly he might have lost too. Everybody that uses steroids, because they're not necessarily win. They don't win them all, and some of them they don't get necessarily muscular either. Apparently, that affects different people in different ways. Yeah, you're right. I agree with you. The perform. I mean, I don't know if you should have two home run records, one before a certain time or one after.
well, when I read the thing, just to let you know, it did say that. It said the other guys who beat him with performance enhancing drugs. They made sure they put that in there.
Yeah. One thing is it's obvious if you look at Hank Aaron and people of that era, or really any era, you'll see a very different degree of musculature
Mm-hmm.
in their frames
Mm-hmm.
from one to the other. I mean, even groups of people, there's different. Nothing wrong. I say, well, I'm lifting weight. Okay, they're lifting weights, but they're lifting pills too. Because sometimes when they stop taking that stuff, they shrink down to average size. I've seen that with people that I've known.
And what performance enhancing drugs, let's just tell the audience, all they do is they make your muscles repair quicker so you can work harder. So it's not like you take steroids and your muscles grow. You take steroids and you got to work your ass off to get those muscles to grow, but they heal quicker so they grow bigger. And the one thing I do have to say, I spoke to Willie Mays. I saw him at an autograph signing session, Paul. And you know what Willie Mays told me? He said, shoot, if they had steroids back then, I'd have took them too, because I'd have done anything to be the best in baseball.
Yeah.
So it's a little different attitude.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Paul. I had last month, I'm sorry. All right, Dr. Paul, last week we did the top 10 greatest food and wine places in the world. Well, this week we're going to do the best food and drink places in America. And that number one city, Dr. Paul, can you guess it? The best food and drink in the country?
New York.
There you go. New York City, I am so proud to say. New York is number one. Number two, I went to college there. So how lucky am I? Number two is New Orleans. You've eaten some New Orleans food, Paul.
Oh, yeah. I remember being at Dookie Chase the last time I was there.
My favorite is oyster poor boys. I love them big fat oyster poor boys. Number three, Chi-Town, Chicago. They have great Chicago pizza. I don't think it's better than New York pizza.
I
But I'll
agree.
tell you this, they had the best hot dogs I ever ate.
Yeah, I like the deep dish pizza was good. It's okay. It's good. It's good. But it doesn't compare to the New York one, in my opinion.
No. Number four, both my children played basketball here, Austin, Texas, at the University of Texas. And Austin does have some good barbecue. Not as good as Memphis, Dr. Paul, but they have some good barbecue, good food in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, I haven't spent any time there. I was never big on, actually, I don't want to alienate anybody. I was never too big on Texas barbecue, although I had a lot of it at one point. Something about the Memphis style appeals to me a little bit more.
Yes, and North Carolina has also good barbecue with more of a vinegar base to it, don't you think, Paul?
I haven't had any North Carolina.
Oh, yeah, very vinegary. Number five, LA, Los Angeles. They said number five is Los Angeles. I haven't spent much time in Los Angeles. My daughter Heather has a cousin who owns a restaurant, a very fancy, fine restaurant in Los Angeles, and we ate there, and it was super good.
Yeah, LA is kind of like New York. I think the very best Mongolian barbecue I ever had actually was next to a laundromat in a gang-infested neighborhood in LA. It was better than anything I ever had in Taiwan.
That's cool.
That's true.
Number six, Charleston. Wow, I've been to Charleston. I didn't know they were up there on the food menu. The food was good. I don't remember anything special in Charleston. Do you?
No, not really. I used to spend layovers there with my old college roommate, and yeah, it was okay, but maybe we didn't go to the right places.
Charleston's a great town, though. Number seven, Miami, Florida. Ooh, Miami has some good Cuban food, I'll tell you that.
You know, you can get some great Cuban food actually right in the airport. There's a cafeteria there. Sometimes it's so good. If I'm going through and I got like a little time, I'll go and just bring a whole bunch of food home.
How
It's well
about that
worth
in
doing.
Miami's airport?
In the airport, yeah, yeah. It's on the it's like on the American Airlines side. You have to
Wow.
walk a little bit to it. Yeah, it's very good.
Number eight, our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. My sister and brother Patrice and Eric live in DC, and I love their food there too. It's very good. Great restaurants in DC.
There are a little pricey, but yeah.
Number nine, you and I should know about this. Portland, Maine. Dr. Paul and I both went to SEER school, and that's where they beat you up and they make like they're the enemy. But we both went to SEER school in Maine, and we get to bring home lobsters. And then when we flew for FedEx, we used to ship home lobsters from Maine, didn't we, Paul?
Yeah, I used to bring them. But in fact, people at the ramp, they would you could buy them. You just say, hey, do you want any lobsters? Sure. And you'd show up at work and they'd have a whole package, just bring the package. And the lobsters are alive, so
I
it's
hated
fresh,
that.
fresh, fresh.
I got to tell you something. I dove and we used to catch lobsters all the time. And the part that I didn't like was killing them. I used to brain
Mhm.
them, put a knife right between their antennas, and it bothered me. I don't like that. But I
It is
really
true.
didn't like putting them in boiling hot
Mhm.
water and hearing that squeal. So that's the end with our food, Dr. Paul.
Okay.
But Portland, Maine, number 10 is Honolulu, Hawaii. My
Okay.
son, Dr. Drew Brown the fourth, was so lucky to have done his residency in Hawaii in Queens Hospital. But Hawaii's got great food and they have great poke. I love their poke. And something else, Paul, if you go to a McDonald's in Honolulu,
You
they
get
serve spam.
pineapple.
No, they serve spam.
Spam, really?
Yeah, spam is a big time food in Hawaii.
I didn't know that. I've gotten pineapple in everywhere, but in McDonald's sometime I got pineapple.
Very good. Well, Dr. Paul, the name of our show is The Wingman Show. And the reason it's named The Wingman Show is because we believe in taking care of other people. And today we have a wingman for you, and Dr. Paul will tell you our wingman of the week.
Yes, this time our wingman is from the Great North, and this wingman actually turned out to be a true hero, a real hero, but not a pilot, not a flyer. Have you ever heard of Tabor, Alberta?
No,
Okay, Tabor, Alberta is in the province of Alberta in Canada. We're up in Canada. It's about 160 miles southeast of Calgary. Anyway, one day a gentleman named Carter Dahl is just walking in a field with his dog on a very cold day, and suddenly his dog is attacked. Is attacked by another dog. He wrestles with this dog. The dog's got him, is getting the better of his dog. And he said he was fighting him for about 10 minutes. And he ended up getting bitten by the dog and his dog getting bitten really, really badly. Seen the pictures of him. And then he left and he went and he reported to the police. He wanted the police to come back out. So he went back out with the police and they see this other dog, the dog that attacked him, sitting on a mound nearby, kind of unresponsive but alert. They approach, and as they get closer, they hear some sounds. They hear somebody moaning. And as they get closer, one of the constables says, "Hey, tell me where you are." And the moan gets louder and louder and louder, and it was right behind where the dog was. This dog was sitting. So they go and they find behind this dog that attacked the other dog, a man lying on his back, flat on his back, uh, who'd been there for 2 days, two
wow.
full days. He couldn't move, and he was there 2 days, apparently in 2 nights. And this other dog that was guarding him was his dog. The dog was guarding him, and the dog by this time that dog was exhausted. And essentially, if the dog wasn't there, they would have never found him. He was like 5 feet below the surface of where the dog was. And his voice lined up where the dog was sitting there. So anyway, they took him in. He talked about what the dog did. The dog guarded him, had to fight off a bunch of coyotes. And his
Yeah.
dog was in Akita. They put the dog in the shelter. I guess the man lives alone. And the shelter raised some money for the dog, for all of them, for his dog and the dog that was bitten up very badly. Long story short, this dog, by being faithful, went a little bit crazy by attacking the other one. But I guess he was fighting coyotes so much that he thought this other guy walking his dog was another coyote coming up. So he went back to protection mode. But effectively, the dog alerted authorities, and the man is alive today.
Wow.
And the name of the dog is Hero.
Hero
was a true hero.
Paul, I think maybe Hero actually knew that causing a commotion by attacking this other dog would bring people. I think that maybe he knew to make a ruckus because after all this happened and people came, he was sitting right by his guy.
I think you might be right. Yeah, when the police came, his group came, they say he was just sitting there with no problem. So I guess his job was done.
Well, thank you, Hero. You saved another human being. And Dr. Paul and all of our listeners out there, whatever you think is beautiful, whatever you think is important, and whatever makes you happy, may you have that today and for the rest of your life. I pray for peace.
I pray for peace too. And of course, we always appreciate those who listen, like, and share our message. If you're watching on YouTube, please give us a like, the thumbs up. It helps out a lot with the algorithm to spread it, and share it with somebody. Try to share this with one other person that you know today or whenever you hear this. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again, Dr. Paul Thompson, my friend. Thank you for your love, your time, and that's something that we won't ever get back. I want to thank all the listeners, too. Thank you so much for doing the show, Dr. Paul. We're jamming.
Well, thank you, Mr. Drew, for inviting me on. Always good to talk to you. And ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast or any of the podcasts. If you're looking at YouTube, they say smash the like button. Don't smash it. Just press it gently and use as a link to all your friends. You can also look at us on our website, wingmenshow.com, WINGMEN show, SHOW.com, altogether, wingmenshow.com. And we hope to see you in the future. Thanks again, Mr. Drew.
Oh, you're welcome. And we're still floating like butterflies and stinging like bees. Rumble, you badass jet pilots, rumble. May there be peace on earth and goodwill towards all men and women.